Hey, this is Ruby Homestead and I'm going over tomatoes. I'm going to show you how to thin them out and make a little more room so the tomatoes get hit by the sun. Usually most of your lower branches start dying off because it's using a lot of energy to make the tomatoes. So you go in there and you thin them out. The aromas are really bad. But I'll show you what I do. I've thinned a couple of these out already. These ones right here, you can see them. How I just took off most of the bottom branches and just left the stalk. And that'll be perfectly fine. It's like once they have dead on them, you can just snap them off. And you gotta be careful because even though you pluck suckers, they'll still come back. You can see right here. I already plucked the sucker off and it still wants to do a sucker. And this is a sucker too. You can see how new and how green it is. You want to pluck those off. And we got our first red tomato. Okay, this is where I stopped. You gotta get low. And I have actually two Roma tomato plants in here. This is one and this is the other one. All this new growth, they're suckers. You just go down here and pluck them out. And you can kind of see other suckers that have already been there, just clean them out. And what I usually do is get rid of all this stuff because it's not good for your tomato to have dead tomatoes around it. Or dead leaves of the tomatoes around it. So you go in there, pluck them off, pull them out, just break them off. They practically come off themselves. You can see. And then also you gotta look out because they're creating suckers as well. See, you look at this one right here. See how this stalk is not a main stalk like these? It's a sucker. Watch, I pull it out. Boom. There's nothing on it. It's just a sucker. And it's taking energy away from the main stalks and creating another stalk, and you don't want that. You want to take all the suckers off to make the tomatoes that you have on there bigger and better. And right here too, you can see right here there's another sucker. So you go in there, it's called thinning your tomatoes out. I'm just thinning them and getting all the dead branches, even some of the green ones you can just go ahead, because they're gonna go ahead and get them out of the way. The ones on the top, you can wait a little longer, but you want the sun to go in there and ripen your tomatoes. You don't want too much moisture and too much dead debris from the tomatoes, otherwise it can cause blight. Blight is the bad disease for your tomatoes. You don't want that, so you got to keep them healthy and you got to thin them. And I did most of these, but I haven't done these over here. So I'll show you as I go. And I just see all this right here. Just take it off. Otherwise it will cause blight, and then you'll start seeing dark spots on your tomatoes. Just like the dead leaves will show you dark spots on them. You want those off. Even if there's some a little bit green left, you can leave the green just by pinching it. But you gotta thin it out. What I usually do is just stack it up here in the middle, come back and rake it up, put it in a pile, and I have a tomato throwaway pile over there, and I throw it all in there and compost it. And what you want to do is just take all this dead, see, once you start, see the kind of the dead spots on it, you don't want that because it'll show up on your tomatoes. It's called blight, and you want your tomatoes to be in full sun and get as much nutrients. See, look down here. See these two little ones? Just break them off and try to go as low as you can, because the lower you go. Alright, now I have two left and they got a bunch of dead. So anything that has a little bit of yellow on it, I go ahead and break it off. any of the new growth, the small stems, not the main ones. Take them out as well. Like even this guy. He has a tomato on it already, so I'll leave him, I guess. But most all this dead stuff, just take it out. Because you do not want dead tomatoes, branches, or leaves where your tomatoes are at all. So just get all the dead out. Remember I said just go for the little bitty stalks. Even if they're kind of big and they get away from you, just break them off. Because your plant's way better off. See, it was starting to flower. There's a little tomato on it, but you don't need it because you have the main stalks and they're going to produce enough. So just go in there, thin it out, take all the dead out of it, and leave the bottom open so it can get air and so it can breathe, basically, because you don't want too many suckers like this bad baby. Start all the way from the bottom, comes all the way to the top. Looks like your tomato plant, but it's not. It's a sucker from the bottom of the stalk, and that's how you thin out your tomatoes. And they'll grow up taller. You still pick a couple suckers out of the top still. But you can see right here in this tomato plant. See how I took out all the lower limbs? It makes it easier for your tomatoes to grow healthy and to ripen. And you just get all the dead debris and have you a little throwaway pile. Because you do not want your dead tomatoes, branches and leaves and stuff near your growing tomatoes. Over there. That's the compost from the garden. There's some tomatoes that are coming up. I'll probably just give it to the chickens. But that's how you thin out your tomatoes. Alright, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and share.